They were continuing to read the Pilgrim's Progress. When the interpreter had showed them this, he had them into the very best room in the house. A very brave room it was. So he bid them look round about and see if they could find anything there. Then they looked round and round, for there was nothing to be seen but a very great spider on the wall, and that they overlooked. Then said Mercy, Sir, I see nothing. But Christiana held her peace. But, said the interpreter, look again. She therefore looked again, and said, Here is not anything but an ugly spider, who hangs by her hands upon the wall. Then said he, Is there but one spider in all this spacious room? Then the water stood in Christiana's eyes, for she was a woman quick of mind, and she said, Yes, my lord, there is here more than one, yea, and spiders whose venom is far more destructive than that which is in her. The interpreter then looked pleasantly upon her and said, Thou hast said the truth. This made Mercy blush and the boys to cover their faces, for they all began now to understand the riddle. Then said the interpreter again, The spider taketh hold with her hands, as you see, and is in kings' palaces. And wherefore is this recorded, but to show you that how full of the venom of sin soever you be, yet you may, by the hand of faith, lay hold of and dwell in the best room that belongs to the king's house above. I thought, said Christiana, of something of this, but I could not imagine it all. I thought that we were like spiders, and that we looked like ugly creatures, in what fine rooms soever we were, but that by this spider, this venomous and ill-favored creature, we were to learn how to act faith. That came not into my mind. And yet she has taken hold with her hands, and, as I see, dwelleth in the best room in the house. God has made nothing in vain. Then they seemed all to be glad, but the water stood in their eyes, yet they looked one upon another, and also bowed before the interpreter. He had them then into another room, where were a hen and chickens, and bid them observe a while. So one of the chickens went to the trough to drink, and every time she drank, she lifted up her head and her eyes toward heaven. See, said he, what this little chick doth, and learn of her to acknowledge whence your mercies come, by receiving them with looking up. Yet again, said he, observe and look. So they gave heed and perceived that the hen did walk in a fourfold method towards her chickens. First, she had a common call, and that she hath all day long. Secondly, she had a special call, and that she had but sometimes. Thirdly, she had a brooding note, and fourthly, she had an outcry. Now, said he, compare this hen to your king, and these chickens to his obedient ones. For, answerable to her, he himself hath his methods, which he walketh in toward his people. By his common call he gives nothing. By his special call he always has something to give. He also has a brooding voice for them that are under his wing, and he hath an outcry to give the alarm when he seeth the enemy come. I chose my darlings to lead you into the room where such things are, because you are women, and they are easy for you. And sir, said Christiana, pray let us see some more. So he had them into the slaughter-house, where the butcher was killing a sheep. And behold, the sheep was quiet, and took her death patiently. Then said the interpreter, you must learn of this sheep to suffer, and to put up with wrongs without murmurings and complaints. Behold how quietly she takes her death, and without objecting she suffereth her skin to be pulled over her ears. Your king doth call you his sheep. After this he led them into his garden, where was great variety of flowers. And he said, do you see all these? So Christiana said, yes. Then said he again, behold, the flowers are diverse in stature, in quality, and color, and smell, and virtue, and some are better than others. Also, where the gardeners has set them, there they stand, and quarrel not one with another. Again he had them into his field, which he had sowed with wheat and corn. But when they beheld, the tops of all were cut off, and only the straw remained. He said again, this ground was made rich, and was plowed, and sowed. But what shall we do with the crop? Then said Christiana, burn some, and make muck of the rest. Then said the interpreter again, fruit, you see, is that thing you look for, and for want of that you send it to the fire, and to be trodden under foot of men. Beware that in this you condemn not yourselves. Then, as they were coming in from abroad, they spied a little robin with a great spider in his mouth. So the interpreter said, look here. So they looked, and Mercy wondered. But Christiana said, what a disparagement it is, is it, to such a pretty little bird, as the robin redbreast is, he being also a bird above many, that loveth to maintain a kind of sociableness with men. I had thought they had lived upon crumbs of bread, or upon other such harmless matter. I like him worse than I did. The interpreter then replied, this robin is an emblem very apt to set forth some people by. For to sight they are, as this robin, pretty of note, color, and conduct. They seem also to have a very great love for those that are sincere followers of Christ, and above all others to desire to associate with them, and to be in their company, as if they could live upon the good man's crumbs. They pretend also that therefore it is that they frequent the house of the godly and the appointments of the Lord. But when they are by themselves, as the robin, they can catch and gobble up spiders. So, Christian, they can change their diet, drink wickedness, and swallow down sin like water. So when they were come again into the house, because supper as yet was not ready, Christiana again desired that the interpreter would either show or tell of some other things that were profitable. Then the interpreter began and said, the fatter the sow is, the more she desires the mire. The fatter the ox is, the more thoughtlessly he goes to the slaughter. And the more healthy the lusty man is, the more prone he is unto evil. There is a desire in women to go neat and fine, and it is a comely thing to be adorned with that which in God's sight is of great price. 'Tis easier watching a night or two than to sit up a whole year together, and 'tis easier for one to begin to profess well, than to hold out as he should to the end. Every shipmaster, when in a storm, will willingly cast that overboard which is of the smallest value in the vessel. But who will throw the best out first? None but he that feareth not God. One leak will sink a ship, and one sin will destroy a sinner. He that forgets his friends is ungrateful unto him, but he that forgets his Saviour is unmerciful to himself. He that lives in sin and looks for happiness hereafter is like him that soweth weeds and thinks to fill his barn with wheat or barley. If a man would live well, let him bring before him his last day, and make it always his company keeper. Whispering and change of thoughts prove that sin is in the world. If the world which God sets light by is counted a thing of that worth with men, what is heaven that God commendeth? If the life that is attended with so many troubles is so loth, correction, so loath to be let go by us, what is the life above? Everybody will cry up the goodness of men, but who is there that is, as he should be, affected with the goodness of God? And that's the end of the reading for today. Have a good day.